What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to go over some actually pretty good news, and it's that Monolith is working on more than one game, and it heavily looks like they're working on more than one DC game. Technically, they could be doing like the third Middle-earth game. They could be making a new IP, but it really does look like they're both DC products, Wonder Woman and then something else. I guess you could technically look at this as they're creating however many. It doesn't have to be two. It could be more than that, but as we've seen in the gaming industry, a lot of studios or a lot of teams, they tend to split. They tend to just do two things. Oftentimes, you don't see studios, Insomniac being one of the only ones. They'll have like three teams working on something. So this comes from James Sigfield, and he kind of did all the work for us, but he found a job posting at Monolith, and really the job posting does everything for us. So let's read what you need in order to apply for this job, and that is what gives it all away. So the job is the executive producer is responsible for overseeing all phases of development for multiple projects from the concept phase through release, yada yada. Really, the rest of it doesn't really matter all that much. And then the nice to have, so you don't need these, but they're nice to haves in general: experience with brand and franchise development, experience building cross-disciplinary teams, and DC franchise knowledge. So technically, it's not, I would say, as sure that they're working on two DC games as it is they're working on two games in general. I think the idea of multiple projects gives it away that they're doing more than one thing at a time, okay? And I look at that as a major win, right? Whether it's DC or whether it's not. You talk about WB Games, they need more of them. Monolith is a very, very talented team. I've talked about them quite a bit. I really love the Middle-earth games, and I think they're going to do a really good job with Wonder Woman. So if they're making two games, fantastic. Doesn't even have to be DC for either of them. Obviously, we know one of them is going to be Wonder Woman, so that's fine all on its own. Now, the issue with the DC side of things, that they're both DC, is it's nice to have it. So it's not a requirement. You don't need to have knowledge of it, but also you could still spin it, right? Because if this person is tasked with overseeing Wonder Woman and blank, even if that blank game is not DC, you would still be overseeing Wonder Woman. So you would still maybe need some DC knowledge because of that game. So no matter how you slice it, the idea of nice to have, having DC knowledge doesn't necessarily mean the second game is DC. It could just mean the first game is DC, and then that kind of covers the entire thing. Here's what I would say. I think it's going to be all DC. And I don't know if that's the right decision, wrong decision. Ultimately, I'll take them. Like, I would say that for Wonder Woman. I would say that for if they make a Green Arrow game, or one day, when we'll get the Superman game from somebody out there, right? I'll take all of these games. It's just an interesting play by WB Games that, okay, well, we need more DC games. Well, the number one thing that I've said this so many times, and I really think this is the popular, I've seen so many other people say this: license it out. You see Marvel doing it, you see Star Wars doing it, and it's working. It's absolutely, you're going to get bad. I mean, it's what we always say every single video. You're going to get some bad games, but you're also going to get some really good ones if you just license the properties out. Also, you don't have that many teams. You do not have that many studios under WB Games, and some of them don't do DC things. So, and actually Monolith was really one of them. So what did you do? It seems like you've changed them into it. Now, again, that's fine, because I think they're going to crush a Wonder Woman game, and I want a Wonder Woman. I think a Wonder Woman game was back in the day, like a few years ago, when I kind of rattled off DC games that I would want. I think she was like number one on my list. I would take her over like Flash or Aquaman. So I'm very happy, and this is actually my most anticipated game going forward. I'm really excited for this game. But, you're changing them into potentially just a DC studio. But yet again, I mean, what do we keep saying? We kind of need it, right? We need DC games. So if you're not going to license them, I suppose, then Rocksteady better get to work on two games at a time. WB Montreal, obviously, we already know, are working on two games at a time. This studio now is two games at a time, and they both are probably DC. I guess right there you'll have 6, and I mean, that's okay. That's an okay number. Now it's staggered, and they're not all going to release in the same year. So maybe again you license some out. I'm going to keep pushing that because I think they need to do it. But there you go. I think it's great news. I really do believe that, because I think this is one of the least talked about talented teams. At least they were. Got to be careful, because when they made the Middle-earth games, that was a long, at this point, it was a long time ago, 6 years ago. It's not guaranteed that everybody that worked on some really great games back 6 to 9 years ago with the Middle-earth games, it's not guaranteed that everybody's still there. We've seen examples of teams that they have the same name, but a lot of the people, the talent, had left and been swapped out, and they're just not as good anymore. So it's not for sure, but I mean, I have a lot of confidence in them. So we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.